up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tanzan, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 10.22, Shibari, where we are covering the novel Death Masks. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Walla walla.
Chapter 24. Susan and Harry land safely out of the moving vehicle. As they start to make their way to Harry's apartment, they are hit with a bad luck curse. The pair manage to escape from harm into Dresden's apartment, where he enacts a protection spell, effectively trapping the two of them inside.
So luckily, Susan was correct that she could keep Harry safe.
Yeah, and Harry gets a nice little touchy-feely moment out of it.
She's like an airbag.
Literally, like that moment in The Incredibles when, like, the plane is gonna crash and explode, and so Ellen...
Just becomes a parachute.
Helen? Is she Ellen or Helen? I think it's Helen Hart.
Helen.
So yeah, Helen just, like, grabs her kids and goes all the way around him with a big latex parachute thing, yeah.
Yeah. He grabs on and, like, wraps himself around her, and she, like, wraps her around him and, like, sticks a knee up into...
Well, a hug.
And he's like...
They end up in a rather intimate embrace.
Yeah.
And more flirting ensues.
He wants to get all kissy. It's like... Boy, this is like, I don't know, this is more the adrenaline that you're literally bouncing off the pavement after throwing yourself out of a car and you're like, wow, I really want to kiss you. I'm like, I get that you're all like touchy parts that I haven't touched in a while, but...
So he's experiencing, I love this meme, he's experiencing one of the 4 Fs, fight, flight, freeze, or mating.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Really cute back and forth banter here or whatever, where Harry's all like, oh, you know, like, you're ruining my masculinity being a big, strong woman and all. She's like, you're a tough guy. You'll figure out how to be masculine some other way.
Well, I know. Well, it is. It's very cute because he's like, how's it supposed to assert my masculinity? And she's like, you're a big boy. You'll think of something. He's like, I think we better get off the street. She's like, is running and hiding assertively masculine? The part where we don't die is.
Not masculine.
I do.
Yes, practical.
Yeah.
I do love that back and forth because it does a really nice job of also establishing a comfort that they have with one another. They're okay with teasing and...
Harry's best friends are the ones that can, like, go just as much on the
Toe-to-toe
jokey,
with the-
laughing
yeah.
bullshit, even in high-stakes situations, right?
Yeah.
And when it's friendly banter like that, you can't help but love that connection a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
You're rooting for it. You know, they're kind of doomed, but you really want it to happen.
Right. It's just
It's a great setup.
Yeah. No, it's cute.
So the pair decide to go get off the street when Dresden feels a spell. He manages to sidestep falling bricks and then tells Susan that they've been hit by an entropy curse and that then they quickly have to evade a now falling snapped power lines. And it's a real near miss on Harry's part. Like, it's just like, boom. Like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Shit's going down.
So yeah, he describes it as basically kind of like a bad luck spell. You know, so it's basically like, I don't know, because entropy is usually like when nothing's happening, right? So this is something they don't really have to do anything. It's like it's just kind of gonna happen. Yeah, that whole passive sort of like, we don't really know how it's gonna manifest or what. Nobody's really gotta like do it. Just some shit's gonna happen to you, kind of a thing, right? So,
It's a trap waiting in spring.
yeah, so it just, and you're right, so again, it's, oh, you're walking by a brick chimney, okay, bricks will accidentally fall on your head, oh, there's a power line, oops, wow, it suddenly snapped at this exact moment, right?
Just bad juju around
Just
you.
bad juju in whatever circumstance. So he figures Snake Boy is doing it because he already displayed some magical talent back at the hotel or whatever when he zapped him, so he's guessing that this is still more fallen angel Nicodemus's crew, and that he's the likely perpetrator. So yeah, he wants to get to his place, get behind his wards, and shut everything out so that they're safe and can't get
Right.
can't be got at.
They have other things that they like have to evade as well. Like, it is a very effective passive curse. Like, what a great way to curse somebody. Like, I'm surprised that this doesn't come in way more often, because it's like, died of natural causes. Something fell on him.
Act
a tree
of God.
branch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's no evidence of it. Like, you can't prove it. It's not like,
Well, exactly.
it's not like there's no like wet slime on the fucking stairs.
Well, yeah, it's maybe very improbable, but not impossible. And exactly. And
As Harry said, though, the guy needed his blood in order to do it.
Right.
so
And Harry usually tries very hard not to let people have his blood, right? We've seen it a lot of times. He, like, sets fire to dry out his blood so people can't use it, right?
Yeah.
Before he leaves a place.
Right. And we know he was unconscious for quite a while.
Yeah, so they were able to get him his wet blood easily.
well, yeah, they beat him up and they did stuff and whatever and this and that.
But this
right
is
there
the-
I kind
is-
of wonder how long they can use that blood. Like, is that like they only just got enough for just using this, or do they keep it on stash? They've
Well,
got like a little slide for
so
future like annoyance of Dresden.
So Harry has said that, like, sometimes hair is not great because, like, you shave your beard hair all the time, right? And, like, a
it's
couple
not
of hairs
attached to you long enough to be
part of you, you know?
And you
whereas
change as a person,
A lock
so
of hair.
Whereas if you've been growing out your hair for 20 years before you cut it, that might have a little bit more mojo to it, at least for a while, right? Blood, obviously, that's pretty connected to you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the whole, like, you know, cycle through the body goes for that. But generally speaking, obviously, blood is a lot stronger than fucking peach fuzz or whatever,
definitely
right?
not DNA based.
Yeah, right.
Well, right. So yeah, this is the thing, right? Fingernail clippings and stuff like that's a little bit more transient.
Like a snapshot in time, and
Unless-
how close you are to that snapshot.
Pretty much, exactly. And so blood. So again, I think, and again, Harry doesn't remark on any wounds, or, you know, he didn't wake up with like a tourniquet and an IV in his arm, so they didn't, you know, take like a lot. So again, I'm assuming, you know, a vial of blood that will stay wet and uncoagulated or whatever is going to last longer than, like, you know, the bloody hanky you wiped your nose with that's going to dry up pretty quick, right? So yeah, I think it's again going to depend.
Like when it's dried, it's loses potency too. Is
It's
that
almost useless when it's dry, just because, like, hard to
it's
mix
old
it in
and
with the
dead
spell
or whatever, right? Like yeah, like basically, you know, a leaf on the tree that is still. It's like buying flowers,
right? Oh, okay.
right? So once
It has
they're
to have some kind of vitality to it.
yeah, so fresh picked flower, no problem. It looks like a flower, it smells like a flower. 3 days later, it's withered, it's shriveled. It's not going to do anything for you. That's basically the concept behind these blood and shavings and whatever, right? So yeah, so the leaf that falls off the rose bush is not going to have as much oomph to it as the rose growing on the bush.
The IT person in me is like, that's like a backup, you know. The
It's
older it gets, like, you know what, like,
more
they've
degraded,
got
it
2
gets
weeks worth
the
of
copy
they've
of a
got 2
copy
weeks
of a
worth of
copy.
stuff.
Yeah.
They've got new data here, so that yeah, you get something out of it, but not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
See,
so
when you say things like that, I don't want to give you my laptop.
Oh yeah, when are we finishing that?
No, you're going to delete all my stuff.
because he doesn't have like a bunch of wounds or an IV, we're going to assume they did not necessarily take a whole lot. And then we haven't gotten much of an inkling on it yet, but the whole fact that when Nicodemus was gonna slit his throat and Deirdre's all like, oh, get the bowl, you know, it's like, sounds like maybe they had plans later on to collect that and stuff like that, and did not necessarily do that yet. So I'm guessing, yeah, they didn't necessarily have a lot to work with. I'm going to assume at this point that they don't have a big backup on hand that they can keep.
Little cotton ball in his like knee.
Exactly, yeah, and this is the other thing of why these entropy curses are not used as frequently as you, because yeah, like you say, you've got to have that better connection to target people. So again, I'm going to assume that's one of those how to keep it. How to make that law of averages kind of a thing, and like, well, everybody would just do this instantly, so we're gonna make it, oh, you need blood, you need DNA, you need that, it's too different, not everybody has that, otherwise, yeah, we'd all just be like zapping everybody with voodoo dolls every like 5 seconds and like nobody would survive, right? So yeah, I'm gonna assume that's why it has to be like the higher stakes.
Also, you're not allowed to
You've
do.
clearly never lived in New Orleans.
You're not
know,
allowed to
but
practice
nonsense.
magic to harm people.
well,
That's a
too,
wizard
the whole
rule,
black
okay?
magic thing. Well, Well, you cannot bind people to your will, and you cannot murder people with magic. But we've said the laws are
Torture is
actually
okay.
very broad. Yeah, I mean, there's
And that's just one little sect that says that.
Well,
yeah, fuck
yeah,
those guys.
it's just those
That's just
guys.
one little group.
Who cares what the White Council says? Not Harry.
But yeah, I mean, they don't really say you can't, like, voodoo someone to have or voodoo doll someone to have, like, a bad day or whatever. It's more, they really do stick to the bigger strokes. So yeah, you're supposed to govern yourself accordingly and not. But honestly, I don't know if this would for sure fall under that or not.
Don't make us bring out the Doom of Damocles again.
Right?
Morgan is waiting to fry your ass.
Right? Especially in the last one, he got, like, real cheated out of the last one there. He, like, showed up to execute him, and he still fucking manages to save the day. And not only escape punishment, but actually, like, get kudos from the fairy court. So it's, like, double slap.
And the whole time he was lying to Morgan.
It's like, fuck. So yes, they scurry along and manage to get into a little hidey hole.
Yeah, Harry gets them inside the apartment before the next attack can hit. And he quickly seals the door with a prepared wax candle protection spell and manages to keep the curse at bay, as far as we know.
Yeah, it's kind of like a...
Wards go up, magic stopped.
But it's almost like a little C4 kind of, because he says he's got like this kind of waxy ball in the basket. So he like grabs that and just like smushes it up against the door and then just sticks like a wick into it. So I'm like, this is basically like the wizard's version of like plastic explosives kind of thing, It's like, I just slapped something sticky on the wall and stuck like a detonator in it. And
it's like a really sloppy version of sealing an envelope. You've got the wax seal. That's what I thought it sort of saw that as. Because like, I mean, when you've got those wax seals, like, you do have a wick. Like, it's prepared a little differently than what he's doing. He's doing sort of like this.
Well, yeah, because
it's a seal, right? Because that's what they're doing. He's sealing them in.
Melted wax on it. Yeah, but he says this is a wax seal the size of his fist, and he slams it on it. So I just kind of sort of a malleable, soft sort of.
We already know he's not into pretty details of things. He's like, I'm not gonna make this look good.
To me it's just exactly like he just takes the center thing.
He fixes things with sledgehammers.
Oh, right, exactly. And his fabulous little flickambicus, which is like one of his best spells ever. And again,
First OG.
Now that we're not allowed to have like commercials and smoking is apparently bad for you and all that, that was like the whole slogan, right? Was flick my bick, right? Was for the lighters and stuff like that.
Still kind of dirty, hey?
Still kind of a little bit dirty. So it's just like flickambicus. But yeah.
Inappropriate people.
My 7-Eleven has been out of all regular lighters for a while. Like at least a month now. The only lighters we have had has been ones with Snoop Dogg's face on them. And everyone's like, that's all you have? I was like, if you have anyone's face on a lighter, don't you want this, guys?
Weird to be out of them. I always get mine at the dollar store.
For some reason, like
some
we just like every time
production thing again or something.
Yeah. For whatever reason, they just keep getting shorted.
Jeez, that's hilarious.
Back ordered. They're like,
all right, all
too many fires in northern Alberta. We're not going to provide. Like, we're going to wait till it rains. These guys are screwed.
Like, we are not going to be liable in any way for this, even like in the remotest sense.
It was so funny because I just had to drive through the mountains, right? And I'm like, how many fires are along the highway? And I look it up and it's like one controlled fire that they lost control of. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Let me hit the road.
It doesn't even take that. Like somebody flicking a cigarette out there their window and done.
It's just particularly funny.
It is particularly funny that it was, a controlled
we haven't even hit our storm season yet because it's just been too, like, it's just been so warm and dry.
Last weekend we had like 103 fires on one day and we're like,
So sad. Like,
okay.
So, yes, he gets in, seals up the house, and a bunch of other ones are set off as, Domino as part of this whatever. I don't know, it's like flicking your security code and like having all like your security lights come on or something. All the candles around the room all like...
Was that part of the spell or is that just him being like cocky and being like, hey, check this out?
No, because it says around the room at precisely the same moment, 24 other candles of white and butter-colored wax also lit with a gentle flicker of white fire. So yeah, it gets basically also does not just his standard. He doesn't just flip the deadbolt. He brings out like the roll-down shutters and the bars over the windows and like the big time wards. They're going full lockdown here.
Right.
Panic room.
Yes, panic room. That's a great analogy right there.
Yeah.
And they take a second to sort of relax and catch their breath, and then Dresden, of course, like makes this stupid thirsty. I mean, Coke. Shit. Well, you know, he's like, fuck. All of that looked so smooth, and then I had to do that. Dumb.
Well, he proposes though. He starts it off with the once he pops it all up, and he's like, "Booyah!" Snake Boy is like, "Stick that in your scaly ass and smoke it." And Susan's like, "The action hero one-liner thing doesn't work if you like mix your." And then yes, right.
Leave it to a journalist to be like, that's grammatically incorrect.
Yeah.
Too many. No. Not that we're guilty of that at all.
Ever.
Mixing our metaphors.
Never. It's always. I think out everything I say beforehand.
Shout out to Mario, who has been calling us out for that hardcore. He's like, do you guys even know what the sayings are?
The sad part is, yes, I do. And when I listen to other podcasts and hear them do that, I was like, what's wrong with these people? Doesn't anybody know anything? And then in the heat of the moment, when the mic's in front of my face.
We're thinking about bigger concepts, people. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. I got that one right, didn't I?
Yeah.
For now.
Sort of, yeah. It's that total, like, stage fright.
Yep.
Even though we're not actually in front of people. And you could, in theory, take time to stop. But as you've noticed, when I've
just
got
trying to get your points out so fast.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there is plenty of opportunity for us all to say something definitely stupid. It will happen. It has
will
happened,
and
and it happened again.
In fact, in just this episode, which you won't get to hear because Tanzan gets to edit.
She already said, she's like, this is definitely coming out.
I get final say over, how stupid shall we seem today?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's terrible. I know. I do. So often I listen to other people and I'm like,
yeah, no.
And when normal conversation, I'm also trying to get my points out just as quickly but yeah, it's something about,
honestly,
it's the pressure. It's the pressure.
When I have my
time.
editing hat on though, sometimes I hear it and I'm just like, that's fucking hilarious, actually. I'm going to keep that because it made me smile.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've been getting called out for it hardcore lately. Because for the first time ever, I know someone in real life who's listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
And so they've got my number and they are harassing me and they're like,
in all senses of the word.
What are you saying here? And I was like, I don't know.
Oh, my favorite is when you just make up new words entirely. I'm like, that is great. It's like Shakespeare. Shakespeare made up a bunch of words we use today.
Yeah,
I'm willing to follow some of your words
Yeah.
because they just like make me so happy.
See,
Done.
I'm often better with the entirely made up rather than just the mangling of existing ones because I'm like, okay, that's your own. You've created, but yeah, when you can't. No, I know it's. I carry great shame for that. I'm like, I'm a lot cleverer than
this podcast
than
gives you credit for.
Yeah. I'm like, I actually do know how to speak
honestly,
better.
She really is, guys. She really is.
They've made it past 100 episodes. They know it by now. Either that or they're a sucker for torture. Sorry.
Right. It's like,
all you little masochists out there, we love you
It's
too.
not that they like us. They just dislike the other podcasts more.
Yeah. We're just the lesser.
Because they gave up. They're like,
More evil.
okay.
Yeah.
It's not that they gave up. They just ran out of content.
They're not good.
We're
They're
just well
not
timed.
I'll take it.
It's the first for us because usually my timing for everything is
Butcher's
terrible.
gonna release another book, and we're like, fuck.
That's our new merch. Just well timed.
We'll just see all our stats just drop. Oh, their next book came out. The other podcasts are back up.
Yeah.
Right?
Goodbye.
All right. You don't have to have a good product if you're the only product. So
We're good right now.
we're good.
Keep recommending your defunct series.
It's one more reason why you cannot doubt this is a labor of love. It's like this.
I ask myself that every day. I love this, right? I love this. I love this so
That's
much.
fun, right?
Oh God, I love this. Yes.
Right now, you're having fun, okay? Focus on that.
Focus on that.
What they don't hear is how often we fight with each other.
I'm a really good editor.
It's these three friends. Yeah.
Movie magic.
Except for those of you that pay for the extra content on Patreon. They're like, oh my God, no, they're fucking weird as shit. I think they like each
I
other, but I'm
just
not
ignore
sure.
all
Not
that
sure.
part. If I don't acknowledge it, it doesn't exist.
That's the new Patreon tier. We upload all of our really mean texting group
God.
chats.
For $50 a month, you get to hear the shit I don't even post on the bonus content.
When we're really mad at each other. Just fucking do your job already.
The sad thing is we do really like each other. It's worse if you... I mean,
Yeah,
imagine if we
it's
didn't,
true.
what would be...
God.
It's like, I just say it because, I know
Family and family friends, okay? We get to be mean.
You, right? Those are the ones... You can't hurt the ones you love. No one else will forgive you.
So they get inside.
There was a great moment with Dresden here. And I was like, yes. So Dresden uses magic to refreeze his ice in his icebox. I was like, that's very clever. And we're back to icebox, not refrigerator, which sometimes it turns into a refrigerator. But
I still maintain
right now,
it's just a...
Synonym, thesaurus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my... But speaking of, I mean, at least this... I know somebody that apparently could use this.
But we're talking about mechanics in here, where he, uses his magic to keep that shit going, and I think that's great. Like, if you wreck things and you have to have an icebox, make the most of it, man. Yes.
Well, yeah. How easy to
He's
run
not
out
paying for water.
block of ice at midnight or whatever, But yeah, I kid you not, we literally had to experience people fighting over ice cubes in this past week because apparently person A fills the ice cube tray too full, and person B can't fit them in his water bottle. And person A has a large cup and drinks an enormous amount, and they're like, yeah, but you can just run the ice cube underwater for a second
that
and make
sounds
it
like
small.
zero problem solving skills right there.
Zero. They're like, yeah, it's like you can just make the ice cube
was a huge
smaller.
fight this week. It was so dumb.
I mean, obviously, this is like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was not all, but this was like the final catalyst. Was that I cannot make an ice cube bigger.
This fight
You
is
can
not
make an
actually about
and
ice.
then
but-
no, and then you know what made it worse is we found out there's actually other ice cube trays in that freezer
That are smaller.
that are smaller but don't belong to that person, so they can't. Which technically, this
None of
other
them
ice
belong
cube
to
tray,
them.
yeah. So I'm like, you're okay using this person's ice cube tray, which is not yours, but you won't use that person's ice cube tray, which is not yours. And of all the things you could share with roommates and use without asking, I'm pretty sure the fucking ice cube tray is the one thing nobody fucking gives a shit if you use the ice in the ice cube, as long as it's, filled.
Refilled, yeah.
I get water in other countries might be not in Canada. In
Well,
Canada, we got our free
that's
water. It's
true.
good.
Yeah, don't we sell it off to other people?
It's nothing for us.
Well, you have to pay for it in utilities, but it's nominal.
I know, but it's nothing.
Very nominal.
Yeah, it's we do not have to carry it on our backs for 17 miles to get clean fresh water. It is literally available on tap at minimal cost.
boil
But
it.
everywhere from
Nominal.
end to end in the country, we've got no issues. All of our water is safe everywhere.
Yes,
it's
we
not
have
like
clean,
this is
safe drinking. Other
It's
than
not like some households have to worry about old pipes. This whole country is nothing. We're all brand new.
The time that I can think of where you'd have to where the water's not necessarily potable is campsites.
yes,
Yeah.
And that's only certain times of the year where they're like,
Or certain facilities.
don't use
Yeah.
this right now. Silt. Blah blah blah.
But yeah,
blah.
and then
and
other
exactly-
times of the year, they're like, we're good, just pump it.
out in the bush where we do not have
Infrastructure, but otherwise we're
infrastructure.
good,
But yes, on the whole, barring
Yes.
So yes, so
He's real dumb.
yeah. So Dresden's like, not an issue. I'm gonna make my own ice, whatever size I want it. And him and Susan have a nice cold drink of Coke.
Smart. I like it.
Wow. Ugh, yes.
Well, here's where we
Communication
hit the conflict part because Susan can smell his injury.
Yeah.
She realizes that, and he's bleeding, and she's like, I gotta go. And Harry's like, yeah.
Yeah, about that.
His bunker is locked
not
down.
gonna happen.
Yeah,
So
that
he
whole-
gives her a time frame. They are stuck for at least amount of time, 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
And she is like, this is not okay. It is not good.
So remember back at the warehouse basement when I said I was running out and you said what? And I was like, control. That's becoming more of an issue now. That also is something that is much easier to deplete and not so easy to make bigger.
Well, yeah, and there's this moment where she's like, "Can you please go clean up the injury?" He's like, "It's fine." She's like, "No, bro."
Yeah, you're not.
It's
Yeah,
not about you.
Yeah, might not be bugging you, but yeah. No, you don't get it. You can't.
So Susan bans him from the living room. She's like, "Go fuck off."
Yeah, it's like she had tapped too much into her powers, and she's starting to feel it. So like this push, and she's starting to feel like she really might lose control, and this is a big issue for her. Like this is like the whole focus of how they can't be together. Like this is the root of all their problems.
Well, yeah,
because she is always tempted by him, and she's just depleted herself enough of her control that
It's getting dicey.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I love you. I'm comfortable. I want to let down my walls when we get together and we get intimate. And letting down my walls is the moment in which I could snap and kill you. Right? So it's exactly...
that again.
That again. Again. Are you still harping on this, Susan? Do you still have a heartbeat? Yes. So, yeah. So they're literally in like a very... Well, I was going to say a very catch-22, but the very essence of a catch-22, or... Yeah. It's basically... It's
not fair.
It's not, yeah. It's like, I can't be around you, but you can't leave, so...
Damned if you do, and damned if you don't.
Rock in a hard place, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, it's... Yeah. So yeah, he's... And to top it all off, too, so part of the reason Susan's losing control is because she's used up all this energy, so she's been tapping into all her supernatural wowiness, and we find out it's not unlimited, and there is a cost, everything has a price. But Harry is way depleted. Mm-hmm. So, right, he's been, like you say, we already went through what the being in bondage thing would have done to his muscles and bones and joints and all of that, right? Then he still was, like, running around. So,
he got a wasted mess on all levels.
Well, he got, yeah.
Emotionally, mentally, magically, physically. He's just done.
Yeah. And so, either way, even, while she's used a lot of power, she's still strong. She's still got the upper hand. She's still going to be stronger and more capable than Harry. So, it's not even a fair fight of, like, a strong Harry trying to fight off a weakened Susan or anything like that. It's like... Harry's got nothing left to fight off,
Well, he does try to use his wits to try to work through this. Like, he knows he doesn't have a lot of resources. So he does, like, as you said.
Yeah.
And so he does ask what will help. And Susan specifically, she says quiet relaxation and, like, get your leg cleaned up.
Yeah.
And so Harry asks her to build a fire, and he's going to go clean his wounds.
Yeah.
And so he climbs into some oh-so-sexy sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a flannel bathrobe, a.k.a. wizard robes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he is smart enough to at least pocket his anti-venom.
Same one he wore to the
case.
Yeah, so at least, yes, he's not completely right. He's like, yeah, we're not agree. We'll what is it? It's putting like a Band-Aid on, but, better than nothing. We'll try, it's hope for the best, but... Yeah, so, but yeah, I misses his shield bracelet, so yes, he hasn't had that because that was his handy-dandy focus for putting the personal force field up, so, and this is the one thing, like, I get, sometimes Harry's busy and whatever, but in certain books, a lot of things go, and I always get frustrated when he doesn't have time to, like, fix or replace or... It's like, but that was such... Why do you not have that?
It was
like 6 months since we saw you last year.
I remember there's a run of books later on in the series when it's like, fucking fix this already. We're going on like 3 or 4 books without this. What the hell, man?
Yeah, and I'm like, I get it, because, we need some excuse for you to just not be, almighty, all-powerful, but yeah, at the same time, some of them, it's like... Again, I'm like, I'm always, like, Bond movies, whatever, and they've got some, like, cool weapon or toy, and they just, like, throw it out, and I'm like, but that's the coolest, don't get rid of that. You should never get rid of anything. Like, Bond right now
You're the kind of person that, like, I'm going to save this for a special occasion, but the special occasion never actually happens, so it's just...
But I've got, well, there's part of that. I had coloring books I never colored in, because I was afraid to, like, color wrong
There's
and wreck them.
ways around that. You used to take a photocopy of the thing that, from the book, and then
not when I was 5. Not when I was 5. My parents weren't photocopying shit for me, okay? I'm just saying, though, yes, it's collect everything and use nothing, but yeah, literally, like, my James Bond tux would look like the fucking, like, man of war, like, Colossus, because, yeah, I'm like, you have to have everything.
I'd much rather be Batman with the utility belt in the underground dungeon, where it's like, there's, like,
A little bit better, yeah.
Well, what is it, like, I don't know if it's real Batman or if it's just things that make fun of Batman, but it's like when you go through his, like, dungeon, it's just got, like, his first costume and his second costume, his third costume, his fourth costume, his fifth costume, and his, like, first card and his second card and his third, like, every way it's ever been drawn or designed or whatever. Because Batman doesn't get rid of anything. He just keeps all of his shit organized in a dungeon.
I swear, I feel like one of the movies, at least, they did do that.
Right?
They went through all, like, the movie costumes and stuff. It was one of those little
It's in my
nods,
brain
too.
somewhere, right?
Yeah, I feel like
pretty much every time you go to the Bat
yeah,
cave,
yeah,
you see
yeah. You'll have, like,
Right.
the original, like, the Adam
The
West,
homage.
and then...
It's gonna be like the Lego movie I'm thinking of. Every Lego figurine of Batman just standing there waiting.
But yeah, no, I'm just like, you need to have all of it. If you've ever had anything that ever worked anytime, Harry, just have it on you.
I collect my own memorabilia on my own eBay.
Right.
See, I have a little bit of a different, because I definitely know I'd be the red shirt, so I'm going to be more hedonistic, and I'm going to be like, just fuck it, I'm going to use it right now. Ha ha ha, I'm probably going to be dead tomorrow.
But if you're a red shirt, it's not your item, right? It's someone else's. I'll use anyone else's stuff all the time.
Well, yeah, for sure, because that's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I need to use your stun gun, Martin, but if it was my stun gun, I'd be like, I might need this later. I don't know if I should drop it right now.
I'll totally color in your coloring book.
Yeah.
But mine is... Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying not to think too much into that.
It's true. I have things
That's
now
just
that,
human
like...
facts for everyone.
See, okay, I'm the person that was like... So I, like, broke my foot a little bit a few years ago, and they happened to give me crutches to limp around on. I was just like an air cast thing, but they gave me crutches. So I'm like, great, I have a pair of crutches now. I'm going to keep this pair of crutches. You never know, A, when you might need it again, or Halloween, or who the fuck knows. Everybody in the movie uses them to, like...
Survivalist mentality.
Yeah, to, like, I don't know, prop up windows or knock
Hoarder
stuff off
mentality.
of high cupboards, or... She made me get rid of them.
I know.
She's like, this is just, like, bad karma or something. You're waiting for next... And now I don't have crutches anymore. I'm like, well, what am I going to have to go and, like, pay for and, like, buy a pair of
You're
crutches?
not limping right now, you're fine.
I was annoyed because I wanted to play with the crutches.
You see?
And I couldn't use them while Mom needed them to live. And I was like, I'll play with the crutches when she doesn't need them anymore. And they got rid of them. I couldn't play with any crutches.
Yeah. So I
Well,
can...
being on the receiving end of trying to help you move.
I mean, I get it, but... Now if somebody tries to, like, break into my head, I can't... Or my house... Nobody is going to try to break into my house.
Avoid.
If somebody tries to break into my house, I cannot hit them over the head with a crutch.
I would pick at least a frying pan, a cast iron, I don't know. Crutches are not the
She
first
doesn't
thing that I
own
think
cast
of.
iron, of
I was gonna say,
course.
you think I have frying pans? I'm like, I'm way more likely to own a pair
I
of
just don't
crutches than I
think,
am
you
a
know-
frying pan.
Oh my god, home invasion, where are my crutches?
You've got a sword on the wall,
No, because
Tanzan.
you would, you would have them just tucked under your bed, because where else are you going to put them? You just need somewhere out of the way.
I have more than
so-
one sword on the wall, too.
Yeah.
Depends on which room we're in.
Neither me or Mom have swords. We need crutches.
Yeah.
One of them is much sharper than the other. I pity the person that breaks in through the kitchen. Ouch.
What, is that going to give you the blunt one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's purely
next-
decorative.
It's near the knife block so she can sharpen it easier.
Yeah. So...
That's like a you die like several weeks later from.
Tetanus.
Oh my god.
Lockjaw.
So back to the story.
So yes,
Harry leaves the room and he finds himself face to face with a very predatory looking Susan telling him that he needs to detain her right then and there.
I can still smell your blood. I think you need to find a way to hold me back. Do it now. Now. Hold me, Harry.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 25. Dresden is forced to restrain Susan with magical bindings, as she has begun to lose control and is desperately wanting to feed on him. The pair are unable to hold back their yearnings for one another and succumb to their desires.
Sums it up.
Tasteful, hey?
Not bad.
Very tasteful.
Considering all this is describing how they're fucking.
Yes,
Awesome.
and on that note, do you hear my voice? Now you won't anymore. Have fun with this chapter, guys.
I thought you were an adult now, Jessica.
No, I don't want to talk about this with you guys.
This from the girl who, when she was
Happy Mother's Day!
But this from the girl who, when she was like 14 or something, was like, Love Boutique. What? That's an adult store? That's a dumb name. It should be called like Pony Play or something. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I'm funny.
No more internet for you. So she can say that to me, but she can't discuss, literature.
No, I don't like literature.
It's like nude models. It's not dirty. It's not,
It is dirty. Have you read the chapter?
It's a little questionable.
Yes.
It gets a little kink.
It made my sister blush, but then
Everything does.
everything would make her blush, so.
Don't think about it, Ted.
Although
Don't think about it.
No.
I have to finally say, even the romances, she went through a romance novel stage and read like a ton of them. But I have to, it finally was hilarious.
Someone was thirsty.
Well, yeah, very Catholic family, okay? That was the best she could do. But I just think it's funny because even she would get to the point where she was like, she's like, one story she read, and she's like, they were so heavy on the euphemisms. She's like, I couldn't tell. Like, when the chapter, she's like, I don't know if they had sex or not. Because she's like, they were talking and everything was but it was so, like, flowery. And then it's, like, later in the book, and they, like, for the first time, and she's like, I thought that was what you did. Like, I was like, okay, that's pretty bad when it's, like, so big. It's like, you can't even tell anymore what, it always makes me think of, bugger all, it's not Easy A, no, Alice and Janney is the principal, and it's like every time the problem kid has to like go in and talk to her, and she's trying to figure out, like, she's trying to write her steamy romance novel, and is like,
Who's Allison?
Allison Janney? She do you know Mom or Bad Mom or whatever?
Harry knows he can't use a spell against Susan in his current state, so he really tries hard to talk Susan down and asks about the fellowship.
Anyone call for a therapist?
Yeah, right.
I mean, he learns from Susan that the Fellowship of St. Giles, is that saying that right?
Yep.
Yeah, St. Giles.
So the Fellowship of St. Giles are half-turned humans who work against the Bread Court and help people that they've harmed. Mm-hmm. She also goes on to explain that tattoos are binding and a loss, and it's a warning of loss of
Geiger
control.
counter.
Yes. So that we sort of figure out, because Martin had those markings, that he is half vampire as well.
So that's why
that is their
working
connection.
together, and that is why, yes, he's here and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting whole little thing or whatever. And I don't know if this is where he got it. St. Giles, I know, is, I believe, like the patron saint of like lepers and things like that.
Yeah, that's what it says in the book, at least.
This is the same thing, and not a Buffy reference, but it can double as both.
It could double as a Buffy reference.
We know Butcher likes Buffy, so.
And just like, it's
like,
ironic
oh,
to
that's
have, Giles as like the vampire protector,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
half vampire, but still protecting them from the vampires and working against the vampires. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the Fellowship is vampire slayers.
Right.
Yes.
And it's an
Just
interesting
happens
illusion
that
because,
they are
like, for
also-
what happens with leprosy, you start to sort of lose things.
Well, exactly.
Which in their
you-
case, but they start to lose their humanity.
their
Yes.
humanity, and especially the Red Court, because they can slough off their whole outer skin and have that yucky bat thing underneath. So,
Right.
yeah, it plays out on
very
various
apt.
levels.
Yeah.
Various levels. So yeah. So, it does. I see what you say. It does say that right there. St. Giles, the digital lepers. Well, I felt all clever for a moment because I remember that, but it feels less clever now.
Oh, you mean
I'm
it's
so
the
glad
thing
you were
that says
listening
in the
to what I
book?
said, that it says right here in the
I-
book. At least it says that in the book.
Yeah, but I didn't actually get to this chapter yet.
That's okay. The two of you repeat each other all the time.
Yeah, I suppose. We're just smart like that, and like great minds. That's why we get along
I
so
tend to make an overall blanket statement, and then she goes through all the details.
well. Yes, that is how this relationship works.
I'm like, I already said that. Oh, now I'm going to say it again. Okay.
Remember the whole hoarder thing, the crutches.
I didn't use the word hoarder. I did not use that word.
I'm not quite.
I did.
Television.
I said survivalist.
level, but yeah, I do. I hang on to everything, man. As soon as you get rid of it, is when you want it. Never fails. So, anyways, yes. So yes, outcasts, infected, half turned, half human, half dead, whatever, right? So they're not real happy with their lot in life. And like Susan, it turns out she's not the only one that got turned against her will and didn't want to just give in and go with the flow.
They're a bit of a revenge club.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I'm getting back
And it's
at
nice
you.
to see that there's enough of them out there working against it, right? It's not,
That
Susan's
not everybody just goes, oh, a vampire, yay.
Not a
It's
special
Yeah,
case.
no,
Fuck you,
exactly.
fuck
Not
you,
a special
fuck
case
fuckers.
at all. There has
Well,
not
that-
only been many before Susan, or there's not only Susan and maybe a couple of more who in the last few years, but that for a long time now there has been
Right.
an organization working against this.
And it sounds worldwide as well because they spend a lot of time in South America as well.
Right,
Yep.
this is where she ended up, down in Peru and all that kind of stuff, where it was really especially bad because, again, it's just easier for the vampires. Again, without all that technology to trip them up every 5 minutes, they like some of the more remote, less industrialized places. It's easier to keep humans as cattle. And
That's why we don't
just-
go up north to Canada either.
That's why
Who
we
knows
don't
what's
go
waiting up there.
way north.
North to Alaska.
That's in America. People go there.
Nobody actually wants to go to the Yukon.
Yeah, no, knowing that's what I mean though. It's Alaska. They all managed to get to, but when it comes to the Yukon, Nunavut, Northwest Territory, everyone's like, "How do we do? We can't go there. It doesn't work out."
Fucked. Although
Yeah. You can't drive there unless you got
No.
an ice trucker. Like, no.
I was impressed though at Comic Expo. One of the guys I talked to had come down from the Yukon. I'm like, that's a heck of a drive. Like, good on you, bud.
I know friends that can only go and visit family in the winter because you gotta wait for the lake to freeze over and you're not going.
Yeah.
One of my cousins,
That's
actually,
right.
she used to live up north like that, where
Yeah.
you had to wait to get supplies and you had to make sure you got enough of them because otherwise you would die.
Fun fact about Canada is we often complain to our government, how could Alaska get infrastructure and we can't?
Yeah, what the hell is that all about?
Crazy. I wonder why.
Because we have a monarch. A monarchy that cannot pave their own damn roads for their own coronation.
Yikes.
I think we're going to be waiting a while.
We all got our problems, I guess. Just a
right.
different sort of lane.
Right.
Life, death, paving.
Yeah.
So Harry is trying to deal with Susan. So he decides to ask her to close her eyes, and he goes and comes back with an enchanted rope, and he binds Susan's wrists.
Yeah. So not only does
This is going to start the beginning of the discussion for me about consent.
Okay, she asked him to tie her up. She said, you need to contain me and lock
She did
me up
say-
and throw away the
Okay.
key, okay? That's number one she did ask for, okay?
All right. Okay. So
And-
we'll knock that off the checklist
Yeah,
of consent.
I know you have a lot of things, and let's go through them all together, okay? She has to be restrained in some way. And she says, like, oh, rope's not gonna hold me. He's like, this is magic rope. And she's like, oh, okay, you're good then. So the magically restraining rope is a yes. We're good on that one, okay?
Yeah.
She fights it. She's like, because who doesn't?
Well, you gotta make sure.
I'm tied up. I want to see if I can fuck with this. Yeah.
Well, who doesn't, right? Everybody got to test the bonds,
gonna get out
anyways.
of
Yeah. But doesn't he? Does he tell her here what it's made of?
The next chapter when everything's
Okay,
calm
fine.
and relaxed.
Oh, okay, fine. But yeah, it's supposed to be strong enough to hold an ogre he pissed off, just in case. So yeah,
So she reacts to it a little bit. And then, so he goes to the bathroom and gets a first aid kit while she's busy trying to struggle against these
yeah.
binding.
Well, it's that whole trust but verify. Oh no, I believe you but I'm still gonna check him and make sure.
And when that's yes and no. I think like that there's a lot of animalistic response based on when he comes back from the bathroom. She tries to attack again, and he has to use another spell to raise her off of her feet.
Yes.
and suspend her in the air, kind of like just by her tippy toes.
Yeah.
Well, as we know, like that, this is the biggest problem: is the whole vampiric nature thing is a secondary outside thing that is constantly pushing at Susan's control. We know that already. That's already established as one of the biggest problems.
Rationale
before them,
versus
and-
instinct, right? Again, what separates us from the animals is
And I
they
think
do
it's
everything
fair
on
enough
instinct.
that
You can
yeah, you've got multiple.
levels.
Well, yeah, like
Layers.
you can be feeling 7 different things at once. She doesn't want to hurt Harry, and she also doesn't want to let the prey go, and she
think they
also wants
call
to fight
it
against the rope.
complicated.
Well,
It's-
exactly,
right.
right? But it's not necessarily that it's separate from Susan at this point, but that it's going through a lot of different emotions and different.
And this is it. This is what we see is her going back because I think it's a little bit of both. I think when he first puts them on because she's lucid, for lack of a better term. She's talking to him. She's like, these won't hold me.
I
He's
see
like,
it as
they
her
will.
being under
And
the influence.
well, yeah, but she immediately does kind of do a test but there is also the animalistic, the under the influence part of her that, right,
That
again,
gets caught up in it, and it's
she's-
like, okay,
she's
wait,
kind of going,
wait, can we break this?
yeah, she's kind of going back and forth between that natural instinct of, yes, prey, attack, I want to rip your throat out, to having the moments where she's trying to pull and trying to stay in control. And this is it, this loss of control is that wavering, I think, back and forth between, having rationality and not, and being driven by what, right? So it's one is becoming less, you know what I mean?
I love what you're saying. I'm not trying to laugh at, I just
No.
love what you're saying, because it's going to be something I'm going to bring back up.
Okay.
So Harry begins to sort of try to clean up the wounds, because when she's like extended like that, he can see that she actually did take some damage, and
her shirt's ridden up a bit, and
Yeah.
a little road rash.
Right. It's just not looking good. So he's trying to clean, but clearly at this point in time, Susan sort of got her vibe changes, and she's got other things in her mind, and Harry quite easily obliges. I mean, we can go into a lot of descriptors after the fact of what's going to happen here, but So there's a couple things that I want to bring up about this.
Yeah, what is your okay up?
So the first one, which is not referring to what you were talking about, I think that I kind of wonder a bit, because they have this lack of restraint that they've been working really hard against, and I think the trigger point is that entropy curse. I think they still actually are affected by that curse, because they had been so determined on not trying to put one another in danger and like dividing things. But I think that previous entropy curse was just enough to be like just passive to fuck their shit up and let them end up having this moment.
Yeah, that's very valid. I will admit I had not thought of that perspective before, but it's a good point. I like it. I'm going to disagree with it, though. I don't think that, because I think,
I think from an emotional standpoint, it could be a thing, like, anything can push you over the edge, right? But then in that case, I would say, so did the working together on the gala, so did having to fight each other in the basement of Rivera, so did having to go and rescue him from this thing. The two of them Susan showed up on his doorstep 2 days ago and was like, hey, and they both were like, I miss you a lot, but we both acknowledge why we can't do this anymore. And then they went through this whole, emotional, well, now you're dating Martin, you don't want me, and, oh, you're not dating Martin, or you do still want me, but we don't have time for this because you still have to go for the fellowship, and you've got to move to Peru, and you're inviting me to go to, but I can't go to this. Oh, but you're going to help me on my case. I think emotionally they've both been up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's hard when you have been dating someone for so long and didn't want to break up, and both of you wanted to stay together and had no choice but to break up. That's why this is I don't think the entropy curse was necessarily the thing. It's just everything at once was the thing. Mm-hmm. If you're saying that the actual curse is still happening, that I absolutely disagree with, because I think Harry's words are strong enough to have been nope, nada, this is a stronghold. Yeah. We're good.
For that.
We're
You don't even
now.
think that it could have had an effect before they got into the house, though?
I do, but once you're inside the doors, that's it. Done now. I think that once you're in there, it's not the same thing as poison. Magic gets fucked up by circles, and his house is a circle.
Yeah,
once
like you say, that so that is one of my points too, as well, as I believe his words are strong enough that exactly they would have severed that tether between. So this is happening far enough past them coming in that I don't think it could have been directly responsible. Like he said, I get what you're saying, that it might have triggered something beforehand, kind of a thing.
Like a vampire can walk in, he can walk in still poisoned, his words aren't going to stop any of that, but an actual magic spell in the air can't get over the barrier.
Well, and it doesn't say that he necessarily knows, it just sort of feels like it's gone, that he can't feel it anymore, but that doesn't necessarily say that it is completely 100%
and that's why I say there's a potential there of it. But,
especially considering, at least I remember one part, what's can go wrong did go wrong.
But I think, because again, they have enough control in the situation that they're not, if something had happened outside and she suddenly ripped his throat out, I could blame it on the rape, but I think they've still got enough of their rationale or whatever going into this that again, personal feelings, I don't think the entropy curse is to blame for it. And I agree more with same thing, that I mean, they haven't seen
I'm not denying that has worn them down mad.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is they've gone without seeing each other for a year or two, however long. Has it just been 1 year at this point since she? No, because it was a year she was gone at the beginning.
Getting closer to 2 now.
Yeah, So she's been gone a couple of years, and then not only is she just suddenly back, which is jarring and emotional, and the whole break, but then, yeah, they keep getting, she's like, oh, I'm going to leave right away, and then she's not leaving. She's, like, helping with the case, and then they're going to go to the thing together. So they've been thrown together they've spent a lot of the last 2 days together when they thought they were going to see, a few minutes, an hour, or something like that, right? So, yeah, there's very much of this wanting to be and pulling apart and everything else going on, and I think there's part of the, well, we can't do this right now because we have to go jump, we have to go to a gala and find it, but then there's all that wearing down, all the physical and emotional stress of all that has been happening in the last couple as well, right? That here they are. And I mean, you want to say something triggered it, I'm like, Molly suggested to him a couple of chapters ago, oh, it's the problem that you're afraid she's going to attack you? Why don't you just tie her up? Wow, lo and behold, turns out Harry's like, hey, I got something I can tie you up with at this moment where you're losing control and we're both getting all hot and bothered about everything.
Do you have a quote that you want to bring up from the last chapter about the entropy curse?
Okay.
I don't want to steal it from you if that's your point.
Go ahead. I like, if you've got it, like, that saves me trying to look for it, because I don't...
Because I know
I didn't quote it directly, but that's one of the thoughts that I had from probably what
as they were coming in the door, Harry goes, I could still feel the curse growing and reaching for me. It was a strong one, and I wasn't sure that either my apartment's threshold or my standard wards would keep it out. As I think why you were so suspicious of it, and you're like, well, wait a second, like, he's not... Standard.
I think just saying that alone as the author, like, putting that in, makes me think that there is room for doubt.
99.9% of the time, I do agree with that. And I do think, like, oh, yeah, like,
and I think,
why would you mention it if it's not even going to be a thing?
I think that's the qualifier. He said, my standard wards. And he immediately slaps up the panic room wards. So, yeah, just whatever his usual everyday... So, again, we're talking, like, the deadbolt versus, like, the roll down shutter. So, yeah, normally, you're dead.
At the same time, we don't know the power of, like, Snake Boy, that if this is the one who sent the...
Which we are assuming he's the only
this is just,
felon who's seen it before in Magic so far, but yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know the extent. Like, we know about the Denarians is that they've had, like, up to thousands of years to practice their craft. So he could, like, have one hell of a fucking swing.
Yeah.
But that's why it also leads me to believe that this is purely
25-year-old wizard
and this
versus...
no, and I agree.
But this curse is only aimed at Harry, not Susan, right?
Yeah, and again, this is where Harry's raw power, I think, comes into it. This is where he can go up against the thousands-of-year-old creatures, because they've got the time and experience, and he's just coming in somewhat at that level, right? Like, that's where... But yeah, no, I agree. I would say that's the only thing is that his normal, and I think that's why it sort of gets specified here, is that he's like, it easily could have, and I don't know, but it's like, because it gets mentioned, because he slaps up these bigger, bolder, better ones, and then he doesn't feel it, that's where I'm feeling like, I'm like, okay, that was the qualifier. There's like, he could have out, and again, that's why
I like that it leaves room for doubt, though.
Yeah,
like,
well, but this is
kind of like, did it go away?
This is the thing, too, because we didn't know they were going to get to a safe house, or what the safe house was, right? So, I mean, he just slaps this on him as they're running away from the thing, right? Martin's like, we got to get somewhere. Harry says, my place, because I've got wards and things prepped, right? So that's the other thing. If they had not been able to get there in the time frame that they did, a million other things could have happened to them that, that this curse could have kicked off before they got their asses behind that wall as well, right? So... But yeah, no, I feel that it has much more to do with the emotional, and I mean, it's just the whole raw, gripping, you want them to be together, but they can't.
And I'm not necessarily saying that it's one or the other, but I think this was, I think this still does have an effect.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I don't think that it's solely just this raw emotional state that they're in.
Yeah.
I think that I think I want to give Dresden a little more benefit of the doubt that he did know better. He had been saying that he knew better. Actually says in the chapter, I knew better, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Didn't care.
Yeah. Seen again.
And he is always about doing the right thing.
Except he has also stated on more than one occasion, when it comes to women, especially adult women who can do adult things with him, he's very, very stupid.
And to further that point...
Again...
And this is a risk of his own life at this point.
This isn't just any woman, though. This isn't like he's let Lydia into his house or even Murphy or something like that. Like, this is a woman he has been sleeping with for several years who they did not break up under the best of circumstances, but not because they didn't want to be dating anymore, right?
Yeah, it's just, I think we can't maintain a long-distance relationship.
I think the lines are a little bit more blurry there, where it's like, it's not a lack of consent in the same way, right? Like, when you actively are with somebody for a while, right? Not to say that you shouldn't necessarily always make sure things are good, but there's less of a check-in process the further and further in a relationship you get.
They have also said multiple times in the last 2 days, I wish we could, but we can't. So there's sort of that implied consent there that, you could still... I'm
going to get back to that consent point, too.
But again, I think in this particular situation with them... they have been.
We'll get to it then. This is what we're
expressing. They said more than once. They're like,
no, I'm not going to make you wait for it. At this point, like the consent part is that she has to be tied up because she is so animalistic and she is under an influence. Under an influence. So that's basically like she can't make decisions for herself at this point because she has lost control. So what gives Dresden the right?
No, I know.
I'm going to ask. I'm going to be that asshole, but
I get.
She's not in a state to make that choice.
So first thing about this sex
scene, she is tied above her head. She's got her hands above her head. She can't actually even touch the floor. Even
I think she tippy toes the floor.
Well,
she's got some support, but
just barely. Just enough.
No,
she is restrained.
He's restraining her because, and I guess
just because she's saying that she wants it at that point.
I guess that's what you're saying is it's the
she has expressly said she
that
has no control.
Yeah, but she also says she wants, and she says she doesn't want to kill him. So he's taking it to that next, like, okay, this is going to be out of your control, and you can't do that. So we're going to stop you from doing that. But
just
this
stop.
is
for the record. Butcher didn't write this scene. His
wife
wrote this scene.
Oh, interesting.
And she writes romance novels, okay? Right. His wife at the time is the one who wrote this scene.
I think I remember you saying that he said, I didn't know this was.
Just
he's
first
like, I don't know
off,
how to.
This was a collaboration between the two of them, and she's taking from all of her romance novels of this whole big sexy, steamy, whatever, and his supernatural dynamics, right? So that's just first of all, one of the things that you got to think is take any romance novel in the world, okay? They all get a little bit steamy, kinky, blobbity, bloobity, okay? Everyone complains about 50 Shades of Grey and their lack of consent or whatever like that, but you can go to the grocery store and pick up any stupid paperback romance novels, and the consent is always like,
fiction is not always the best way to reflect.
Is this
sexy or is this just creepy and weird,
It's fictional,
okay?
And I will tell you straight up, reading this the first time and everything, because I was rooting for Susan and Harry. I did like them. This was a little bit spicy. I enjoyed this. And I was like, in real life, no, I would not want this to happen to me. Absolutely not. Not in a heartbeat. In my fictional world, yes, because ultimately, he's not taking away her consent. She wants to be with him. And I do. That's what I look for in my fantasy, in my media, in my I don't really like romance novels in and of themselves, but that essence of it is exactly because in my fantasy, you can go, oh, no, when you really want to be talked into it and you really want to give into it. And that's the allowable. In real life, absolutely not. If I don't want the tea, I'm not taking the tea. But don't make me drink the tea. Sorry. But,
I very much appreciate how you
say this. And that is, yes, exactly. Because we do all have those fantasy moments of whatever, right? And this is how you get into kink and bondage and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. When that becomes a real life scenario of the psychopath bounding you up in his, that neither way came out wrong, but in the basement and right. But if you have a partner that you trust, you suspend that, right? You put your hands in that of, yes, I'm going to let you do this to me because I know you're not going to cross that line, right?
It's one thing to say there's a metaphor for being drunk or under drugs or under influence or whatever. In this case, though, I think it's a little bit different. It's like we know the whole vampire shtick that's going on. We don't need to make it a metaphor. In this universe, that just is a thing in and of itself, right?
Yes.
Susan can't ever be separated from the vampire thing, ever. This is just what it's going to be like
she's confirmed
forever.
One more time, there is no cure.
She can't go and sleep with a regular Joe Blow on the street because no matter what, it's going to make her go crazy. If Susan wants to have any sex for the rest of her life now, she's going to have to be tied up. Sorry.
Or she has to pick Martin.
Or she has to super not care. Which is not great consent anyway.
It has to be other vampiric because, again, same thing, even if her and Martin, if she still, I mean, not that she would,
if she kills him,
if she kills him,
I guess she can sleep with Bianca, but...
but even that, I mean, it's, again, I don't know, how would that, no, it must be a mortal kill.
Because they're still
So I was
half
gonna
mortal.
say-
I would think that would.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I'm like, if she
they
rips
can
out
still die,
Bianca,
right?
yeah, if she rips out Bianca, well, so can Bianca, but I'm like, if she rips out Bianca's throat and feeds on her, would that still turn her? But maybe it's not. Maybe it's still
I think
that
my
taking
whole
a
beef
human
is that
life.
like there
but-
was a boundary that was set, and even though like and then right before, like, there was a boundary set, and there was a loss of control that
Yeah.
shouldn't have negated
So
it.
those are all very, very valid points in the real world, and absolutely. And again,
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love this scene. Like,
yeah,
I think
no,
it's
and
fabulous,
not,
but
yeah, again,
there's-
I
there's
appreciate
always
what
just that
you're
little bit-
advocating for there as well.
While I read it, and it did make me uncomfortable, and not that like.
See, I've read books where it's made me uncomfortable, and I've had the point where I'm like, "What? Where's the consent here? Where's the this? Where's the that?" The writing
Yeah.
style, I'm not sold on it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that here.
Yeah.
Here, I do feel like they're both good to go, and the next chapter has Harry being like, "Whoa,
Right.
are we good?" And she's like,
Oh, yeah, no, it's still in this chapter.
Oh,
where
it is
he
still-
checks
yeah,
in.
okay.
And I do appreciate that. I think that was a nice call back.
And I get, aftermath is too little too late, okay? In normal general settings, you gotta
Yes.
make sure. And that's why, BDSM has all these, like, whatever checklists. And you gotta
Safe,
talk,
sane,
and you gotta say yes,
consensual.
and you gotta go through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Again-
negotiate stuff beforehand in a way that's.
And see, that's
proper.
where I'm going to, because you're like, they had this boundary. And I'm like, no, they didn't. They said, we need to make this boundary. And both of them very, I think, explicitly intent, whether they both were like, we don't want this
We don't
fucking
want
boundary. Neither of us want to have
A couple
to
chapters ago,
acknowledge
they're
that-
like, I hate this.
I
Me
hate
too.
this boundary. I don't want this boundary. If this boundary wasn't here, we would in a heartbeat. He found a way to temporarily disable that boundary. And that to me is where
And also
it's
part of
not-
it before was like neither one of them had that extra 5 hours of nothing to do. It was like, even if I was thinking about this rope, I've
Yeah.
got to go fight Ortega. You've got to move to Peru.
I mean, it was definitely.
Now they have locked
It was a very
themselves in.
convenient way.
Opportunistic.
It was a very convenient way to disarm her. Like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
worked.
yeah.
Oh, you need a distraction? I'll distract you.
But again, there's other stories too where it seems like, oh yeah, real convenient. You're locked in your sex dungeon for 5 hours.
Yes.
This one's a lot more organic and natural as to why they're fucking there, right? They didn't just meet in an airport and she lost her luggage and she had to go and meet up with this crazy guy who's forcing her to spend. No.
Yeah,
They know
they're
each
in an
other.
established
There's
relationship.
such a
There's
history
feelings on both
that
sides.
I'm willing
There
to
is- Yeah, this is where you're willing to give, and this is the
Again,
safe, right?
suspension
This
of
is
disbelief.
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
even
this
more
is where
so,
you can
in
play
an
out the
established
fantasy.
relationship, when you know someone, you are allowed to get less rules and check in. I'm not saying that every single time you just spring new things on and tie people up and it's like, well, we were dating, it's okay. No.
Well, yeah, but
But in an
you
established relationship, when you know
roll
someone-
over in bed and grope your wife, that's not automatic rape. If she says, I don't want to do anything, and you continue, but you assume if it's your wife and you've had sex before and you're sleeping in the same bed and you roll over and cup a boob, the cops aren't showing up. It's maybe implied consent.
I don't know why that just made me laugh, but it did.
May I caress your breast, dear wife? Right.
Point is, yes, at a certain point, you know what meals your partner wants to eat. You know what groceries they need to buy. You know what their appointments are. You know what your general normal sex
God
life
willing,
is at.
no, dear, I told you. I'm
Okay,
still allergic
well.
to onions. Do not get onions on my I thought you wanted double onions.
But you know the baseline for your sex
Yes.
life and all these other things
Yeah,
in life
yeah.
that you don't need to know every single time.
Yeah.
Which is why it's not even suspension of disbelief here. It's much more natural
This
and
fits
organic,
with
and it
them.
fits into the rules that have been established for the world. And it's not just like
Yes, this is not.
it's not rapey because I said it's not rapey. Why are you guys so mad at me? No,
It's not just the. I wanted to write a fan fiction and I really had to go out on a limb to make it work. It's like, no, this is. Like you say, an organic part of the canon. It's not. I mean, we've all had things shoved into canon where we're like, well, that's just fucking wrong. But, it is. Yeah, to me, no. I think this is very much them. And again, because this is an actual fantasy world, you can give up that last teeny tiny shred of what if, should it, could it, would it, and be like, no, this is where we get to have the fantasy.
and
That
especially
they
because
get to just.
I read a lot of fan fiction. Okay, I do. Admittedly,
Yeah.
I will embarrassingly admit up to that. Okay.
Not recently,
And
but I
there's
have consumed my
lots
fair
of fan
share.
fiction that I have stopped reading mid because I'm like, no, the consent. I know this is fake, and I
does-
know this isn't
yes.
even by the real author, and I'm still uncomfortable
It
with
does
the,
not.
with the
Yes,
consent here,
you
right?
It
And
does
I
not work.
Don't feel that here.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
and that's fair. Like, and honestly, like I do definitely appreciate this scene. It just there's just those just enough small moments for me.
Yeah.
Where when I read read it and go, oh, I don't know.
That for me, I think, is, the end all and be all. That, again, this is the fictional versus non-fictional. That, I would not argue. I would not go, maybe if this was in any way a real life situation, then absolutely not. But since it is purely for the sake of fiction, I can go, party on, yes.
I really love knowing that he did partner with somebody else to do this scene. Doesn't
it not make you feel slightly less awkward?
Well, yes and no. He does know and is aware that he is pushing a boundary here that maybe he doesn't know how to do, and that's why he involved somebody else.
And I think that was it. He's like, I don't know how to write a sex scene.
He knows where he wants to go with the story and doesn't know how to make it necessarily work in a way that is appropriate, so he draws somebody in.
Exactly, yeah. He's like, I know how to make Harry a smart-ass, snarky bastard, but that's not exactly the tone I want for this scene. How do I meld that with hot, steamy sex?
And I will follow up with yes, it did bring some questions to me, but it does after they're done and they're in aftercare moment. We'll call it that, just because come on, it was bondage. And they do have really tender moments after the fact. Like there's I love yous and she does resume her, like she comes back to her humanity as a result of their actions.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
she does confirm,
right? They burned off that extra manic energy.
Yeah.
Real quick, props to Shannon K. Butcher, who was his ex-wife and helped write the scene, right? Well, is, yes. Yeah. And like her books are Burning Alive, Finding the Lost, Running Scared, Living Nightmare, Blood Hunt, Blood Bond, Binding Ties, Willing Sacrifice, Falling Blind, Dying Wish, and all 8 of them have a really hunky guy on the front. 10. I said 10.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
Yeah. Pushing the boundaries for eroticism.
Fictional eroticism is a very tight script, okay? They follow a very limited set of...
Right. And I do get the function of this scene.
Yeah.
And I think it does what it needs to do.
Yes.
I just want it to be like...
And yes, and like you said, they go back to the little cute little back and forth.
But they just, it's like they've been wanting to all book, the whole, I still want you, I still want to touch you, I still want to. And yes, this is their make or break moment where the stakes are high enough, they've been pushed to the limits, and they find a way to, so they're, it's like, not fighting it any longer. Mm-hmm. Let's just, give us what we both want in a moment where we can take it, and then we'll just have to shove everything back in the box afterwards.
Well, and Susan does come back to her humanity, so he does remove the bindings, and he puts her to bed on the couch. He can't sleep with her, even though he really, really wants to.
Well, again, right, they've managed to sort of snap her out of that. They exhausted her enough, or what? Right. Exactly, right. They're like, no, I'm not going to just close my eyes and turn my back on. It's like, me.
Yeah, he goes to his bedroom and he lays down so he can see her and pines for her before he falls asleep. This concludes our episode 10.22, Shibari. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.